Hello, friends. Ted Wilcox here again to bring you into another thrilling chapter in our continuing saga of magic, mystery, and the American century. But before we begin, here's Charlie Pulcher with a brief review of our last episode.
Last time, weary and hungry, after his meeting with Isaiah, Whiskey walked straight into the Fillmore, the Saints of Samedi's territory, letting George Baptiste's watchers track his every step as doubt gnawed at him. Neither Isaiah nor George seemed like the kind of man who would use Hallie as a pawn, but the whole affair felt like a noose tightening. Then, in an instant, the mole fell unnaturally silent, its neon and temptation snuffed out. Whiskey crossed into the Winterland auditorium, the Saints' stronghold, expecting violence, and found a cruel joke instead. But beneath the kitsch and laughter, something darker waits. Who or what really lurks inside Winterland? We'll find out now.
This is the Mythic Chronicles. Entry 1. Crime Wave. Chapter 13. Whiskey has a snack. October 24th, 1951. The grin on Whiskey's face sharpened as he triggered vigilance. His eyes gleamed violet as his gift mapped the corridor in layers. Sound, subtle motion, the cold edge of practiced will. The world didn't brighten, but it clarified. Contours emerged, pressure points aligned. Everything slid into place. He strolled with the ease of a man walking in broad daylight, pace casual and unhurried, as he headed straight for the two men stationed at the far end. Both were enormous, though in unique ways. The one on the left had blockish features, and a frame so massive doorways must have been a daily hassle. He looked less like a man than a statue carved from obsidian. The one on the right was shorter, but no less imposing. His bulk spoke of brute strength wrapped in thick fat, each breath wheezing like a bellows struggling to keep pace with its own mass. Even with the corridor's generous width, standing shoulder to shoulder, they filled the space, blocking the only door. As Whiskey approached, two faint red glows floated in the dark. It took him a moment to realize the fat one had slipped on a pair of small, circular, red-lensed glasses. To his left, the larger man's eyes caught the ambient light and glinted, tapetum lucidum flashing silver-white in the black. These two won't have any trouble in the dark either, Passenger noted. The fat man raised a meaty hand, signaling him to stop. Whiskey obliged, halting 5 strides away. "Good evening," he said. "We're closed," the fat man interrupted. His voice was oddly high-pitched for his size. Whiskey inclined his head but continued politely. "Thank you. I'm aware. I have an appointment with George." Even in the dark, Whiskey saw the speaker turn to his partner. "Don't know nothing about no meetin'," he said theatrically. "How about you, Smiley? You hear anything like that?" The larger man made a low, rumbling noise, and Whiskey caught a faint reflection against the speaker's teeth. "Smiley says he ain't heard nothing neither. So why don't you take your skinny nip ass and git?" "Oh," Passenger purred. "The kiddies want to play. Wonderful." Whiskey's smile didn't falter. "I'm here on family business. Felix Baptiste set up the meeting." The fat man crossed his arms. "You got proof, Mr. Nip? If you take a moment to inquire, I'm sure you'll find George is expecting me. I don't mind waiting." The man laughed, a high, grating sound. "Is that so? And who may we say is callin'? Should we stick with Mr. Nip?" Whiskey let his smile widen. "Whiskey Mononobe." The laughter cut off immediately. "Never heard of you," the man said. He tried to play it off with a shrug, but the spike of fear in his aura betrayed him. "And even if I had, you could say the Baron hisself made a reservation. But unless the boss told me you're good, me and Smiley here ain't letting you through." He slid a hand into his jacket. "So best hit the bricks, Mr. Nip, or I let Smiley," he tilted his head, "do his thing." "Oh dear," Passenger murmured. "I do believe these men have threatened your life, Kenichiro. And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't self-defense sit perfectly upon the way?" Whiskey didn't move. He didn't have to. Pupils narrowing to slits, he triggered passion, and this time, he didn't hold back. Both men staggered, bracing as if against a sudden, invisible gale, as Whiskey's will crashed over them like a tidal wave. Even so, to Whiskey's surprise, the fat man resisted. Muscles clenched, teeth grinding, he dug in. Whiskey's will rolled over him rather than through, like trying to push a boulder through thick mud. Passenger grunted. The fat one's slippery. Talented, or maybe some kind of protection. Its voice took on a murderous edge as it chuckled. But the other... Whiskey's attention shifted, and his grin turned predatory. The bigger one, Smiley, was less protected. Whiskey's will clung to his aura like acid, eating through layer after layer of resistance. He sensed the man's surface emotions, courage, loyalty, a deep love for family and friends. Nothing I can sink my teeth into. So he went deeper, to the core, where base instinct overrode thought. And there, he found them. They were faint, like flames in a poorly ventilated room, but all they needed was air. Insecurity born of fear, resentment rooted in rage. Satisfaction oozed from Passenger as Whiskey's will threaded deeper into Smiley's aura, turning both emotions squarely toward his partner. Slim, and fanned the flamed. Slim was always addressed first. Slim was the smart one. Smiley was always second, always overlooked. The quiet one, the slow one. And it would always be that way. Exactly as he feared. The younger man's resistance crumbled as rage burst forth, raw and explosive. Smiley's reason disintegrated under it, wiped clean, his personality temporarily erased by the strength of his emotions. And Whiskey fed. Smiley's anima poured into him, sweet and overwhelming, like rain on drought-stricken earth. Whiskey flicked a contemptuous wrist at the fat man. Hold him. Slim gasped, scrambling for the weapon inside his jacket. He wasn't fast enough. Smiley caught his wrist in a crushing grip, pinning it before he could draw. The scream that followed reminded Whiskey of a pig on its way to slaughter, as Smiley hurled him hard enough to dent the drywall and knock his glasses askew. Make him quiet, Whiskey said. Smiley shoved his fingers into Slim's mouth. The fat man bit down hard, but Smiley didn't even flinch. He stared, blank and unblinking, as blood trickled down his partner's jowls. If he makes another sound, Whiskey murmured, violet eyes cold as the grave. Kill him, then yourself. Slim shuddered, then stilled. Whiskey breathed deep, letting the anima soak through him. It felt good, really good, like everything would be all right, so long as he didn't stop. A low grunt pulled his attention back to Smiley. The huge man shook with exertion, already straining as he was drained. He wouldn't last much longer. Whiskey's eyes shifted to Slim. He could feel the rage, buried but burning, despite the man's protected aura. If he wanted, he could take him too. But he didn't. Not yet. One thing at a time. He searched their pockets, stripping them of weapons. In Slim's coat, he found a small dream-catcher-like talisman woven with cat claws. A warding charm, he thought. It'd be a downright shame if something happened to it, Passenger mused. Whiskey crushed it with a flash of ambition fueled by Smiley's anima. Red flared in Slim's eyes. He sagged as accumulated whiplash struck and the magical darkness vanished. Now able to see, Whiskey studied them. Slim was older, dark chocolate skin, cropped salt and pepper hair, a gold hoop glinting in one ear. He slumped upright, barely conscious, held in place by a mountain of a man. Smiley had coal-black skin, a bald head, and wore a suit that could have fit a school bus. Veins stood taut in his neck as he bared his teeth at his partner, even as his massive frame sagged from loss. Seeing the formidable men reduced to such states, Whiskey felt, he wasn't sure, but he knew they were done. No longer threats, removed from the way. He clenched his fists. He didn't want to. By all the gods, he did not want to. But he released passion. Both men dropped, boneless. The whiplash slammed into Whiskey. Pain flared behind his eyes, blurring his vision to gray. His head pounded, his heart hammering like he'd sprinted half a mile with Slim on his back. "What is wrong with you, Kenichiro?" Passenger practically screamed. "You know better than to let something go before you finish. It's not just wasteful. This happens. Fix it. Finish what you—" "No," Whiskey thought, as he shoved himself off the wall. His legs buckled. He staggered, nearly fell, then forced himself upright. His vision swam, his breath caught, then steadied. He pushed the door open. As it closed behind him, the headache dulled, still brutal but bearable. He needed to move. Drawing a deep breath, he scanned the next room, the part of his mind that had recovered, surprised to find no traps, no ambush. He stepped forward, each stride stronger than the last, until he reached a stairwell marked, "Authorized personnel only." It led downward, out of sight. Quietly, he descended. At the bottom, he found a wide door. He grimaced, not thrilled at the idea of using another of his gifts after taking such brutal whiplash. Still, he hardened his resolve and triggered vigilance. Immediately, he picked up the soft strains of "You Always Hurt the Ones You Love" by the Mills Brothers, drifting through a haze of voices. A lot of voices. Whiskey took a moment to consider. Maybe it was the lingering effect of passion, or his brain still ramping back up from the whiplash, but he wasn't interested in turning back now. With a quiet breath, he dismissed vigilance, straightened his suit, and stepped inside. The stench hit him all at once, smoke, rum, and blood, and Whiskey peered through a red-tinged haze as men in black suits rose, faces hard, guns already raised. A faint smile touched his lips as 12 sets of reflective cat's eyes turned toward him. Glancing around the seating area as if a dozen barrels aimed at his chest were beneath notice, he took in the many talismans and symbols, scrawled in what could only be blood, covering the walls, then let his focus settle on the man seated at the back of the room. "Hello, Mr. Baptiste," he said, his voice steady as it carried over the music. "I believe we have an appointment."
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Mythic Chronicles. If you're enjoying the journey, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast. Your words might help bring more mythics into the fold. To listen ahead, unlock bonus content, and gain access to VIP Discord roles and behind-the-scenes updates, check out our Patreon, or visit us at SeanTLaffertyBooks.com. I'm Sean. Thanks again for being here.